Hi, I'm Coach Amber, and welcome to the MeatRx Success Story podcast. Today we have Stephen with us, and he will be sharing his story about a meat-based diet. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how you doing, Amber?
I'm doing great, thank you. So, Stephen, tell us, what was going on in your life prior to starting a meat-based diet? Were you having any health issues or anything that you were trying to accomplish by going to a meat-based diet?
Well, to talk about my story, we kind of have to go back a few years. I was diagnosed in 1998 with type 2 diabetes, and a review of my military medical records showed that I actually probably went undiagnosed as far back as 1995, and I retired from the Navy in 2002. So prior to discovering the carnivore food lifestyle, I ate pretty much anything I wanted to and was especially addicted to pastas, rice, and certain fast food restaurants. I was obese. My weight went anywhere from 190 to 230 pounds over a period of several years. I suffered from lethargy, multiple sinus infections throughout the year. I was put on high blood pressure medicines and statins, and of course, more diabetes management drugs than I can even remember. Now, of course, everything I was suffering was pretty much a direct result of the complications from my diabetes, my metabolic syndrome, my standard American diet, and the lack of education about the best way to deal with my condition. Now, during the fall of 2019, about a year ago, my wife and her sister started transitioning to keto food lifestyle, and I was resistant. I mean, it was like, are you kidding me? I was drinking what I considered healthy green smoothies every morning. It was loaded with fruits and kale and spinach and artificial sweeteners. And I thought, that's enough. I'm doing okay. I was on multiple types of medications for both diabetes management and associated medical problems that I was having. I was still putting away massive amounts of healthy foods that had carbs. But I knew in my heart that I really wasn't doing any favors for myself. So I think you had something else you want to ask me real quick?
Yes, actually. So when you first transitioned into a meat-based diet, how did you do that? Like, what did you include? Were there certain foods that you stuck with? Did you include dairy? Did you have any transitional issues?
Okay. Well, here's kind of how it worked. As I approached my 60th birthday, something in my brain finally clicked. I was coming off an extended recovery because I had broken my foot, and my wife was constantly playing these videos with Jason Fung and Ken Berry, two names that we all know. The phrases insulin resistance and reversing diabetes kept popping up, enough that they finally wormed their way into my consciousness. I actually began to listen to what they were saying. I watched Fung's Reversing Diabetes course on YouTube, and I finally decided on my 60th birthday that I was going to make the commitment to put my diabetes into remission through the keto diet. Now, the first few days of 2020, I gave it the old college try, but discovered that I was still running higher glucose levels than I really wanted. That's when I started looking at all carbs, not just the bad carbs. And I listened to Barry and Dr. Saivez, who's my actual doctor now, talk about the carnivore way of eating. On January 6th, I transitioned to a higher fat, moderate protein, near zero carb way of eating, and wow, that's when things started taking off. The first thing that happened is I began losing weight fairly quickly. I lost about 15 pounds just within the first few weeks. And I've actually stabilized now at between 155 and 158. And that puts me in the middle of the ideal weight range for my height and my body type. I've gone from extra large to medium shirts. And I've gone from 38-40 pants down to 30-32s. Well, the next thing that happened is I immediately started to feel better. I had more energy. My sleep became deeper. My dreams became more vivid. After my initial bout of adjustment, which we all know is referred to as the keto flu, I have not been sick, lethargic, or felt physically bad since then. By this time of year, I would already have at least 2 upper respiratory infections, but I've been in great overall health, even in the midst of the pandemic, and I'm especially grateful for that, considering that as a diabetic, the complications associated with a COVID infection for diabetics are more severe than with a lot of other health issues. So toward the end of January, and with the weight loss and the higher energy I was experiencing, I went to my endocrinologist and explained what I was doing, what my goals were, and that I wanted their support for the path that I had chosen. I told the doctor who I had listened to online, the research I had done, and that I really felt it was a realistic and achievable goal. And all this was, again, based on the key being moving to the carnivore diet. Well, to my surprise, the doctor laughed at what I said and proceeded to tell me that their 20 years of experience trumped anything new I had learned about managing and reversing my diabetes. Well, needless to say, I haven't been back to see that endocrinologist. Instead, 3 days later, I had my first appointment with Dr. Robert Cybez, who's the carb addiction doc, and he's been my guide. He supports the carnivore lifestyle, food lifestyle. He actually practices it himself. And his views on food addiction, especially carbs, have really helped me stay committed to this way of eating. Now, let's take a look at what has happened since I actually got on the carnivore diet. Well, he's taken me off of all of my blood pressure meds, my statins, and all supplements. And he agrees with this community that I can get everything I need for health from eating the right way, just eating the right way. He took me off of most of my diabetes management drugs, although he has helped me realize, and this is why it's so important when somebody has a medical condition like I do, that you need somebody who knows what they're doing guiding you through the process. He helped me realize that even though I'm eating healthier, I do have 25 years of damage that I'm trying to repair. And I'm going to need some support through the metformin I'm taking and carefully considered and administered insulin injections from time to time. They're very small doses, but that it's necessary because I've got, again, insulin resistance. My pancreas doesn't quite work right, and we're trying to get that thing kick-started. Now, the good news is my blood sugars have steadily stabilized, and they are normalizing. Now, when I started carnivore, I was coming off of a high A1C of 8 to 9. Now, when I was first diagnosed as carnivore back in 1998, it was something like 13. It was crazy. My last A1C at the end of June was 7. And if my continuous glucose monitor is to be believed, and yes, Shawn is learning all about continuous glucose monitors now, I could be looking at an A1C of 5.5 or even lower in a couple of weeks. So as I'm prepping for my next appointment with Dr. Cybez. And the absolute, again, I can't emphasize this enough, the absolute foundation that I'm building on is the carnivore way of eating. I've learned that I don't, as a side note, I've learned that I have nothing to fear or even be concerned about when it comes to cholesterol because of all the fat and protein I'm eating. So that's a big plus. So,
absolutely.
As far as my eating is concerned, this is my typical food day. I was able to establish a routine of eating just one meal a day in the evening after a few weeks, because that fits both mine and my wife's work schedules. To keep from getting hungry, in the morning I put 2 tablespoons tablespoons of butter and heavy whipping cream in my coffee first thing in the morning. And then I have another cup of coffee that's built the same way at around noon, about the time of Shawn's daily meetings on the East Coast time. So for dinner, we eat ribeyes, bacon, eggs, pork belly, other things on a rotation. Sometimes we throw in fish and other animal products. It's such a simple plan. It's such an easy way to fix and make food. It's all whole food. We love the food, and both of us only eat until we're satiated, and that's another key to the whole thing. You don't have to count macros. You don't have to count calories, not really. Just make sure that you're doing plenty of fat and, you know, in a moderate amount of protein, and you're going to be good. So that's the food portion of it.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Do moderate. Yeah. Okay. I do moderate exercises, primarily walking, and I do lifting, pushing, and stretching that comes with the physical aspect of my job as a technology support at the fairly large campus of the school where I work. So there is that amount of exercise that I do get, and I know Shawn's really big on that. So.
Absolutely. So did you have any transitional issues at all? I know you started keto and you went through the keto flu, but when you actually started eating just meat-based products, did you have any issues at all?
What's really funny is that people always talk about cravings, and I don't know if it was because of my mindset going into it, but it was like anything that I had as a craving food automatically snapped off. I have had no cravings for anything whatsoever. I actually look forward to the taste of butter and heavy whipping cream in coffee in the morning. That's the closest thing to a craving that I have. And I do apple cider vinegar at night, you know, a small amount in my, and I actually look forward to having that, even though a lot of people think, oh, that's nasty, but it does supposedly help with my insulin resistance. The only other thing is, of course, what everybody complains about, and I've even done some memes as my character Orby-Wan about that, is as your body is starting to fat adapt, it does have an issue. There are issues with your intestinal tract wanting to empty itself out over and over.
We're back
where did I drop off at?
You were talking about having issues with diarrhea?
Yes, and that to me was like the only thing that most people would have a problem with. Now, you know, I don't think it's more like preparing for a colonoscopy every 4 or 5 days sometimes. But I'm okay with that because I know what's happening with my body. Brett Lloyd, one of the other coaches, we were joking about that at the mental health meeting the other day about, you know, hey, knowing everything else healthy that's going on with my body, I don't mind a little of that going on. And I do find myself, especially, you know, this happened when I was attempting a fat fast. It gave me 2 or 3 days in a row of I hope I'm within 20 feet of a restroom, no matter where I am. But as far as, you know, that just comes with the territory and adaptation, really is. I'm sure that our ancestors had some of the same issues, and I'm okay with that. So.
Yeah, if that's the worst thing, I'm thinking, hey, that's cool. Not a big deal. Okay, so Stephen, so now you've mentioned a few things that have improved, but could you expand on that a little bit?
Tons of energy. Drives my wife crazy. I'm popped out of bed, running around the house, you know, I've already got the chores going in the morning before she even gets out of bed. And, you know, she's a keto carnivore too, but she enjoys her extra rests a little more than I do. And being off of all the supplements and the majority of the meds, I mean, I literally take 2 pills now, and one of them is for just an old man prostate thing. And the other one is my metformin. And then the thing that I really enjoyed, and this is something Dr. Saives kind of tricked me into, was I was still having higher morning glucose numbers because of gluconeogenesis, which is something Shawn's been talking about. But you know, because of my insulin resistance, my liver, and basically my liver would go and stick the the glucose pump into the car gas tank, turn it on, and then walk away, and the pancreas would be asleep in the back, forgetting that it's supposed to, you know, it's supposed to do its thing. That excess glucose would spill over, and my sugars would go up. So this was happening quite often, and finally at my last meeting with Dr. Saives, he suggested, I'm concerned about your high numbers, so I want you to consider an insulin pump. But 5 minutes earlier, he was complimenting me about my how much control I had over everything, and about I knew more about my body than any doctor, even him, really knows about how it works. And so I thought about it, and then I got back in touch with him. I said, how about letting me, since the problem is mainly in the morning when I wake up, how about letting me self-administer microdoses of a rapid-acting insulin? And, you know, he said, okay, I'll agree to that and all that. So I started doing that, and my numbers just like, whew, they evened out. The morning numbers are never under over 140. My range is 70 to 140 right now, and I'm going to knock that upper range down to 130 and 120, and it's getting to that point now. And I wrote him back that I communicated with him just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I sent him some graphs from my CGM. And I said, this is amazing. It says, it's almost like this is where you wanted me to go. And he said, it was. He said, I knew that you would get it and you would jump on it and it would really work out for you. And I'll tell you, that kind of encouragement is the part of what really keeps me going and keeps me committed to this entire way of dealing with type 2 diabetes. I belong to some Facebook groups, and I'm not trying to put anybody down or make anybody mad or anything like that, but I belong to some Facebook groups of with type 2 diabetics who just don't seem to understand how their body is actually working, because they're more concerned about what they're giving up and wanting to try to recreate that feeling in their head of, you know, eating a brownie by going to a substitute keto brownie or whatever. It's like, what are you doing? And, you know, and so there are a couple of groups I had to get off because the whole thing was about, you know, I'm at 167, you know, is that bad? Okay, how long have you been diabetic? How many months, how many years? And you still don't understand the kind of damage that's being done to your body because you decided to have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning and you just don't want to give that up, even though your body doesn't need it. And so, you know, to me, what I'm doing, 75% of it is up here. 25% is what I'm putting in my mouth. The rest of it has to be mental, has to be the state of mind, has to be the commitment. And I just wish more people would understand that. But, you know, I can only, you know, the thing is you can only control yourself. You can only control what you put in your mouth, and you can only control your attitude toward it. You can't, and, you know, it does really no good to react to everybody else. because of choices they're making, because, you know, you're not them. You have no control over them. You're not the boss of them. And, you know, so, you know, I just shake my head in amazement sometimes at the lack of education about your own body and own disease. So unfortunately, a lot of diabetics have. I am always suggesting, you know, when I read these about I ate this and this happened and all that, I'm always going, well, you know, my own personal experience is when I changed over to high fat, moderate protein, near zero carbs, things got so much better. I don't worry about spikes the way everybody else seems to. And, you know, and then there's all the other health benefits that came with it, the weight loss, the feeling better, getting off of the other stuff that's not even diabetic related. You know, I just wish there was a way we could get that word out to people. Just look at what you're putting in your mouth and be aware of what it's doing to the inside of your body.
Oh, but Stephen, we are. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why you're on this podcast. That's why MeatRx was started. This is Shawn's dream. This is what motivates him every single day. So we are doing something. We are getting that message out there. So never fear. You got to be that example and just keep, you know, sharing your information and your experiences. And it does make a difference. It will. And slowly, little by little, we're going to make a change. We are, for sure. Okay, so Stephen, being that you are a MeatRx member, can you share a little bit of some of the benefits that you personally feel like you've received by being a member?
Well, I joined MeatRx back in February. And immediately after the free month that I had, or yeah, I guess it was a free month that I had, I immediately renewed the subscription. I enjoy and use all the resources that are available to me, but the one primary resource that I use all the time that I feel is the most benefit to me are the multiple meetings that are available. The face-to-face with other people going through the same types of journeys that I'm going through. The diabetes group, I wish we had more people that would join in with the diabetes group with Stephen Thomas and be there just to hear, you know, what I might have to share, somebody else has to share, and it might help some folks through what they're going through. Shawn's daily meetings are just, they are so informative. I love the VIP guests. I love it when he calls on me and asks me how things are going, and, you know, and he's got like an international audience. And that kind of makes me feel really good. Again, the diabetes group, Brett Lloyd's mental health meeting, Brooke's cooking meeting. I'll pop in on them from time to time, and a few of the others that in some of the daily socials, and a few of the others that I can find the time to attend in between work and other things going on. This has been the #1 resource that has really kept me on the straight and narrow outside of my own mental commitment to my goal, has been just what MeatRx as a community means to me. I mean, I'm on a first name basis with a lot of people now, Simon, Becky, and you now, Brett, Steve, Shawn. I mean, all these great people. There's Melissa and just so many, Jen, so many people that I look forward to seeing every time I log into a Zoom call. I find this camaraderie and encouragement and fellowship just invaluable as I go down this journey. You know, and that's my journey and my goal. And I want to be that kind of encouragement to other people. As far as my journey, I am only in the early stages of it. I only really started this about 9 months ago. I celebrate the victories when I have them, and I study and make improvements when I encounter setbacks. That's part of the that's part of the growing process. And you know, again, the carnivore diet, excuse me, I hate the word diet. Diet sounds so temporary. The carnivore way of eating is again the key foundation to everything that I feel I need to do to put my diabetes into remission. I'm in it for the long haul because I want to enjoy being alive when I'm in my 90s, so I can play with my great grandkids. That's like my ultimate goal.
I love that. That's awesome. And I agree with you. I think, you know, MeatRx is just such an awesome platform and such a very inclusive and supportive community. And I love that. So I absolutely agree with you. And I'm so glad you found so much value, because it is definitely a really good place to kind of congregate. And maybe, you know, the wave of the future there, you know, with the way things are going on social media. But anyway, Stephen, it has been a pleasure talking with you. And I hope you continue to have more and more improvements and seeing better things. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, check in with me in about a year or so, and we'll see where we are.
I love it. Yes, let's do. Bye, Stephen.
Bye.